Welcome back to Lee Jordan Field, a place where the Matsu Miners have not been since opening day. They return today to try and keep their winning ways going after a victory at Herman Brothers a couple days ago against the Anchorage Glacier Pilots. With Dylan Simmons, I'm Charlie Fellows here on a cold and rainy day here in Chugiak. We're hoping that the bulk of the rain is going to hold off. It's a turf field, so we're not going to get rained out, but still we might get some sleepy conditions if this picks up at all.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the players deal with the potential wet environment, but if they play anything like they did on Friday night against the Glacier Pilots, I have no doubt that Matsu's got a great opportunity at a victory today. Well,
you mentioned it last night, or last game, I should say, a couple days ago. It was a very feel-good win for the Matsu Miners, and if you missed it or just want to relive it, watch some highlights right here. It's Friday night in the Matsu Valley, and what better way to spend it thus? Charlie Fellows, Dylan Simmons, the voice of Miners, who are ready to take on the Anchorage Glacier Pilots in their never-ending quest to get back in the win column and get that momentum that they had this season going again, stringing chances together and driving runners home, but they can get off to a start here. Instead, that's going to be on the bubble by Dylan Marks. Throws on to first anyway. Out. Kyle McCausland is going to come row. Another defensive. The Miners take advantage. They 1-0 in the first. As soon as someone does score, discovering as that's a Kendrick. Another break
on the way from Kendrick, and he got the strikeout. Late call from the home plate umpire, but Noah Kendrick, the strikeout specialist, delivers once again. And Matsu preserves the 1-0 lead. We'll see if the Miners can add to it when we come back in the bottom of the fourth. 3 average along with 1-2 count. Here's a line shot that drops down for a base hit. And stopping at third base will be Knight. That's going to be a single for Hefner, and he's now got another hit in this game. Pilots with a great opportunity to tie this game. And this is going to be a ground ball right too short. And it gets through Don Patrizzi. A run's going to score on an E6 for the Pilots. And they have tied this game at 1.
As a result of not doing so, this game is now tied with the second unearned run we've seen.
This is a bunt laid down by Stolga. Here's the throw to first as it's a double clutch, and the ball's going to get away, and the Pilots are going to score yet another run. They have taken the lead in a lightning-fast fashion here in the top of the 6th.
Base hit
in the ABL standings. Here's a line shot into left field. Another waltzing to home plate as Wilcox RBI number 2, and Matsu has a 3-run lead.
A performance for the Miners.
Can we call it a double-double?
We could, 3-2, and that's rock for a base hit. That'll roll down the line. Scoring easily will be Patrizzi. Now Perez is going to go for second, and he'll get there without incident. The hit train continues for the Miners, pouring it on here in the 8th. Strike.
Yeah, not to get philosophical, but there's always that point in the season where a team kind of finds its way back. We might be on the verge of witnessing it.
He got him! Swing and a miss. 3 strikeouts. Or 2 strikeouts, I should say, for Drew Kennan, but 12 in the game for the Matsu Miners. And he closes this game out, a 6-2 win for the Miners over the Glacier Pilots. And I don't think a 6-2 win ever felt so good for these fans, for these players, and quite frankly for us. All right, well, that was certainly a promising turn of events after how tough sledding it's been for the Matsu Miners. But now they return to Chugiak, a place where they have some fond memories.
Absolutely they do. It's where it all began for Matsu. They returned to Lee Jordan since opening day back on June 6th, like you mentioned. Matsu defeated the Chinooks by a score of 8-1. They actually had an 8-0 lead heading into the top of the 9th inning before giving up a run. Now, Don Patrizzi, Riker Scow, and Ryan Richard all had 2 RBIs. The Chinooks combined for 3 hits total. So Matsu certainly has had some success against Chugiak here in the past.
They can do even a fraction of that. It'll be good chance for a win here today, and that takes us into the hitters that they're going to be plating here today.
Yeah, we'll start with the Chugiak lineup. Leading off will be the DH, Cade Smith. Then in center field, it's Jaden Hill. Third base, the always electric Jordan Jaffe. Second base is Louis Zalaika. First base, Jacob Hayes. Shortstop, Oliver Dagenhart. Left field, Keaton Lately. Right field, Sam Kwapniowski. Catcher is Dusty Eisenagel. And on the mound is John Green, who has 1 2/3 innings pitched on the year for Chugiak.
The Chinooks, the home team, the visiting Miners now. Drake Kerr, of course, leading off in center field. Don Patrizzi at short. Both of the 2 top on-base percentage leaders on the Miners. Kyle McCausland, left fielder, birthday boy today. Christian Perez at first base. Brandon Duran, the designated hitter. Chase Wilcox, at third base. Logan Vaughn doing the catching. Kellen Strohmeyer out in right. Ryan Richard, the second baseman. And Tucker Timmerman making another start for the Miners. The last time he started since the Glacier Pilots doubleheader, a game which the Miners won. Well, we are just about ready to get started here. We're hoping the weather holds off and hoping the baseball will be as good and electric as it was last time the Miners took the field. It's Miners versus Chinooks coming up right after this.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Ultimate Wilderness, also known as Alaska. Today we are live in Chugiak for the first time in 24 days, and the Matsu Miners are ready for a battle and potential redemption as they take on the Chugiak-Eagle Chinooks. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows joining you from Lee Jordan Field. And Charlie, it's odd to be back here once again. In some ways it feels like it's been a long time, but in other ways it feels like it was just yesterday. But no matter what, the Miners have certainly not forgotten what happened and are eager to emulate their prior success here at this ballpark.
Well, when you talk about what happened, I think there are two things you could be referring to. The first was what happened here on June 6th on opening day when the Miners came into Chugiak and did pretty much whatever they wanted to here on this ballpark, winning by a score of 8-1. That was part of the red-hot start. They had a 4-1 record after their first 5 games, and the Chinooks were no match for them. But I think what you were talking about was a few days ago, earlier this week, when the Miners returned to Herman Brothers Field and lost by a score of 1-0 to these very Chinooks. The 1 run was unearned. That's about as maddening, heart-wrenching a way as it exists to lose a baseball game. They got back on the win column a couple of days ago against the Glacier Pilots with that feel-good 6-2 win, coming off another off day yesterday, and now they're going to try and keep that momentum going here.
Yeah, as I was getting ready to say, back on Wednesday, the Miners and the Chinooks faced off at Herman Brothers Field, and Chugiak took it by a score of 1-0 in a crushing loss for the Miners. But they came back, they refocused, and this past Friday, they took out the Anchorage Glacier Pilots, especially late, with the offense coming alive in a 6-2 victory. And now the Miners want to find that once again on the road and win their second consecutive game, which would also get them back to 500 in the ABL standings and keep them solidly in third place here in the Alaska Baseball League.
As you might have seen if you'd watched our pregame show, a couple things. First off, we were having some audio issues, which hopefully are fixed now. And let us know in the chat if you're hearing any audio buffering, because that was definitely happening in the early parts when the stream started. But more importantly for the game, it's rainy here in Chugiak. It's been a steady drizzle ever since we got here. We filmed the pregame show out in the rain, and we're safe from precipitation here, but the players are out in the elements. It's a turf field, so we're not in danger of any kind of a rain out, but that's definitely going to change the way this game is played today.
So here we go, Miners versus Chinooks for the 3rd time this season and the 2nd time at this ballpark. Matsu trying to win again in Chugiak. Drake Kerr will lead off, and here's the pitch. Bunch shown as usual by Kerr, and that's in for a strike. Count goes to 0-1. It is John Green on the mound, Jordan Jaffe at third, Jacob Hayes at first, Dustin Eisenagel the catcher, Louis Alaika the second baseman, Oliver Dagenhart the shortstop, Keaton Laley in left field, Sam Kwapniowski in right field. As that is going to be a swing and a miss by Kerr. Count goes to 0-2, and Jaden Hill is the center fielder for the Chinooks.
It's funny, we were talking before the game. Drake Kerr, of course, known for his bunting, and we were discussing whether or not the rain and the turf would make it easier or harder to bunt. Obviously, if it was grass, that would make it much easier because the ball would roll less far, but it was interesting to see how the infield quote-unquote grass will behave with the rain coming down here.
Count goes to 1-2 for Drake Kerr, who leads the team in total hits with 16. The next closest is 12, shared by 3 different guys. Best batting average on the team at .281. The 1-2, this ball is foul towards the Miners dugout and right at head coach Ty LeBrun. Count is going to stay at 1-2.
This is the 3rd appearance of the season for John Green of the Chinooks staff. Has a 5.40 ERA and 1 2/3 innings pitched. He has walked 4 and allowed 1 earned run in those innings.
1-2 count. This pitch is outside for ball number 2. And you talked about it. Green has 1 2/3 innings pitched on the year before this game. He has not pitched against Matsu yet, so this is a bit of a new experience for him. 2-2 count. And the pitch to Kerr. This is a chopper right up and over the mound. Play by the shortstop. Throw to first by Dagenhart is going to be off of line of Jacob Hayes. And Drake Kerr is into first base. That's going to be a throwing error and an E6.
Kerr's one of those guys that whenever you see a bounding ball up the middle like that, you wonder if he might be able to leg it out. It looked like he would have been out if the throw from Dagenhart had been more on line, but the Miners will take it, an opening base runner to start here in Chugiak.
That'll send on Dom Patrizzi for Matsu, the shortstop. Kerr aboard, and that is exactly how they wanted to start things off. And a quick error by Chugiak. Matsu really capitalized off of the mistakes by the Pilots in similar situations on Friday. Pitch to Patrizzi, and that's in the zone for a strike. Count goes to 0-1. Dom Patrizzi still tied for the lead in ABL RBIs, but he does have a man who is hot on his heels also with 10 RBIs. And that right now is Max Ross of the Anchorage Bucks. 0-1 count. Patrizzi shows bunt, lays it down. That is going to be a fair ball for the moment, and it just rolls foul. That was some good patience by Jordan Jaffe. Just decided to let it go, and it was the right decision.
And that's an example of the turf hurting the Miners. If that had been a dirt base path, the ball would have rolled to a stop there. Even probably without the rain, it would have rolled to a stop well before the line, but Unfortunately, that cost the Miners an infield hit.
So instead of a trip to first for Patrizi and a runner in scoring position for Matsu, he has to come back to the plate with an 0-2 count. John Green, a freshman here for the Chinooks. 0-2 count. Kerr's going, and this ball's fouled back up and over the fencing. And the count will stay at no balls and 2 strikes for the shortstop.
Patrizi toward the top of the Matsu leaderboard in on-base percentage at .313. He leads the team in walks drawn, as a number of steals as well. I was wondering when head coach Tyler Brunn might try Kerr and Patrizi 1-2 in the order, because Patrizi was the leadoff man to start the season, and those two are both excellent at getting on base.
This is going to be fouled off by Patrizi, and the count's going to stay at 0-2. Just made a little bit of contact with the end of his bat and went into the catcher, Chinooks. Count staying at 0-2. And again, Matsu trying to get back to 500 in their ABL record after they fell to 6-8 thanks to the loss to the Chinooks back on Wednesday. And you can bet that since that time, they have circled this game in their calendar with the opportunity to take down Chugiak on the road. Throw back to first, and not going to be able to do anything with Drake Kerr. Jacob Hayes out there, who also pitched against Matsu, that coming in the last game. Now he's a position player for Chugiak in this one. The 0-2. Pitch to Patrizi. Kerr's going. The throw to second base is going to be away from the second baseman, Zalaika, and Kerr's going to be safe. Count's going to go to 1-2 as well on Don Patrizi, so another quick mistake here by Chugiak, as that throw just wasn't quite on the money.
So I hate to keep bringing up the rain. That has been probably all of my color hits that I've done so far, but I really want to point out a couple of things we've seen here between that bunt and then the bounce that ball took. I think we have our answer as to how the turf though is behaving in relation to the ball when it's wet. It's definitely bouncing higher than I think the second baseman expected it to, and he wasn't able to field it cleanly. So that's going to be good for both teams to know.
So Louis Zalaika having issues handling the baseball that time. 1-2 count. Here's the pitch, and that's a swing and a miss. Patrizi strikes out on a breaking ball from John Green, and that's one down for the Miners as Kyle McCausland, the birthday boy, comes on for Matsu.
McCausland hot as a firecracker the last few games. He leads the team in doubles, extra base hits as a whole. In the season as a whole, he's batting .240, slugging .320 as 4 doubles and 3 runs batted in.
He has definitely been on a torrid pace as of late, and he's got a chance to score Kerr right here. Here is a ground ball up to the left side. Throw to first by the third baseman is in time, so Jordan Jaffe and Jacob Hayes link up for a 5-3 putout, and that is 2 away now for Matsu. So Christian Perez will now come on for the Miners.
These Chinooks are coming off a 7-0 loss last night here at Lee Jordan Field at the hand of the Anchorage Glacier Pilots, a team the Miners have had little trouble beating so far this season.
Chugiak has lost 4 of their last 5 games in total, so they've been on a bit of a rough stretch as of late. This pitch inside to Perez. Count goes to 1-0.
And in further scores around the ABL last night, the Oilers took it to the Bucks again, winning by a score of 9-8. They are tied, or they actually take that series in Kenai 3-2. So the Miners happy to not be the only team that thought very highly of themselves and then went down to Kenai and got humbled. The Oilers are legit.
1-0 count. Yeah, Peninsula showing themselves to be a force. There's a swing and a miss by Perez on a fastball. The count goes to 1-1. This is the only ABL game taking place today. Everybody else is off. And it's a 2 o'clock start time for Matsu. Only the second time that they've played a game this early on in the day. Usually it's 6 o'clock or bust. 1-1 count. Perez trying to send Kerr home, and he's going to swing and miss at this one. The count goes to 1-2. A nice curveball by John Green.
He was going for the fences there. Perez, .267 on the year, 5 runs batted in, had one against the Pilots a couple days ago.
Trying to replicate that success right here. And he swings and misses at this one as well. Looks like it actually may have been just fouled.
I think that bounced off the plate and into the glove of the catcher.
Is that what happened? Okay, gotcha. So count's going to stay at 1-2 for Perez. Couldn't tell from my vantage point with Chinooks right in front of the plate. The 1-2. Matsu trying to score Kerr and take the early advantage. This pitch is outside for ball number 2, and the count evens for the first baseman from Arizona.
The rain has picked up significantly in the last few minutes.
And it's always interesting to see how that impacts the baseball and also the way that these defenders are able to handle it. Could be crucial right here. 2-2. This pitch is inside. It gets away from Chinooks, and Kerr is going to be able to get to the hot corner. He already had a pretty big leadoff, and that made it all the easier as the count goes full at 3-2.
So Drake Kerr reaches on an error, steals second, gets to third on a pass ball. This is what we've talked about before. The Miners get an innocuous-looking base runner, and before you can even blink, they're on third base.
So this is becoming troublesome for John Green, the freshman out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Grace Christian University, as he's keeping an eye, actually as he runs all the way off the mound to go check on Drake Kerr.
I don't think I've seen that one before.
That was something I have not quite seen in my days either. And I think the Miners were curious about what in the world was going on there as well.
Looked like they were jawing at each other briefly, too. I wonder if they know each other.
3-2 count, and that's high for ball 4. So Christian Perez is on to first base, and Matsu has runners in the corners. Perez advancing on a base on balls.
Well, here is Brandon Duran now, and we asked Ty LeBrun after the game on Friday when it felt like the momentum changed in that game, when he felt like the offense had finally come back, and what he cited was Brandon Duran's RBI single in that 7th inning that tied the game up and was the first step toward opening the floodgates and what ended up being a 6-2 victory. So Duran now with a chance for another RBI.
And he's got incredible power hitting as well, as this is lined into left field for a base hit. Coming home is Kerr. He scores, and Matsu is on the board first. A 2-out RBI single for Brandon Duran. The generator strikes again.
They call him Mr. Clutch, and by they, I mean me just now. Duran with his 2nd straight game with an RBI hit, and this one no less important. It's always important to establish that early lead. It's the 2nd straight game they've had a 1-run lead in the 1st inning, and maybe they can even extend it here.
That'll bring on Chase Wilcox, the 3rd baseman, as Matsu now has runners on 1st and 2nd. He's going to foul this one off, and the count goes to 0-1. Miners are cruising early on, and I love that Duran was able to capitalize once again with a runner in scoring position. That's something that Matsu hasn't been as good at portions of the season, and Duran able to put one in right there, and that's huge for the Miners early, capitalizing on opportunities. We'll see if Wilcox can answer. High fly ball deep to right center field, and this one is going to be caught by Jaden Hill, so that will do it for the top of the 1st, but Matsu does cash in. Brandon Duran with an RBI single into left field, and the Miners on top 1-0. We'll be back for the bottom of the 1st. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. to Chugiak, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call, and the Matsu Miners with a 1-0 lead after a 2-out RBI single from Brandon Durand scored Drake Kerr in the top half of the first inning. And now we'll see if the Chugiak-ER Chinooks can muster a response, but they have to contend with Tucker Timmerman, who has been incredible from the bump this season and especially as of late.
Yeah, contending with Tucker Timmerman is not the easiest thing in the world. A 1.29 ERA for the Miners out of 7 innings pitched. And the crazy thing is he blends right into the list of ERAs on this team because of just how incredible the pitching staff has been for the Miners. Of course, riding that 29-inning streak without allowing an earned run, dating all the way back to the Glacier Pilots doubleheader back on Wednesday. He has this season allowed just 7 hits, 1 earned run, and struck out 11 in 7 innings.
Cade Smith, the first batter up for Chugiak, and the pitch from Timmerman is a fastball. This is lined into left center field for a base hit. It rolls all the way near the wall. It's cleaned up by Drake Kerr, but it's going to be a leadoff single for the DH, Cade Smith.
Well, after going 5 innings, throwing a no-hitter against the Pilots earlier in the week, he takes all of 1 pitch for the Chinooks to end that particular streak, but this defense and this pitching staff has been in positions before. They've come very close to giving up earned runs, but they've just been so clutch. And now's a chance for Timmerman to demonstrate that.
Yeah, it didn't take long for Cade Smith to make an impact on the game, and now Jaden Hill will try to respond. He got the last out in the top half of the first on a fly ball from Chase Wilcox. Count goes to 0-1 as he fouls it off.
Hill batting .267, 4 runs batted in.
Junior out of Frisco, Texas, plays for the Arkansas State Red Wolves. And he sends a fly ball to right center field. Drake Kerr is right there, and he'll make the catch without any issue for out 1.
Well, those are 2 pretty hard-hit balls off of Tucker Timmerman in the early goings here, which is all the more worrying when you consider the rain. It's going to make the ball carry not quite as far, and yet the Chinooks, seeing him well early, he's got to adjust.
Yeah, they're showing a lot of power early on, and like you mentioned, that's a good sign for Chugiak in this game. As Jordan Jaffe makes his way to the plate. Throw back to first by Timmerman. Christian Perez over there trying to do something about Cade Smith. Defensive lineup for the Miners. You got Timmerman on the mound. Logan Vaughn is the backstop. Christian Perez at first. Chase Wilcox at third. Ryan Richard at second. Don Patrizi shortstop. McCausland in left. Strohmeyer right. And Kerr in center. Pitch on the way from Timmerman. This is a chopper right side. Picked up by Perez. Throw to second base is going to be offline. And now on his way to third is Cade Smith. And the Chinooks are going to have runners in the corners.
That is a backbreaker there. And I believe that was the second baseman, Ryan Richard, who was covering that throw and threw it over the head of whoever was covering short, probably Don Patrizi. That gets Cade Smith an extra base, and he's now 90 feet away from tying up this game.
Yeah, it's going to be a throwing error on the Miners. Looked like Perez came over and just misjudged where he was throwing that thing or lost the handle on it. You wonder if the rain had any impact on the accuracy of that baseball. Whatever the case, the Chinooks will definitely take it. And now Louis Zalaika comes on, and Chugiak in a great position to tie this thing up, Charlie.
Well, once again, if they do, the earned run streak will remain. Of course, we would prefer the infield for the Miners not to make that necessary to mention, but Timmerman in a bona fide jam here for the first time this season.
Count goes to 0-1 on Zalaika from San Jose, California, the Bay Area. Plays for Gavilan College. .515 on-base percentage in conference play, a .790 slugging percentage in conference play for his college of choice. And he's been pretty solid with the Chinooks as well. And that's going to be a strike. 0-2 count. Now Timmerman settling in a little bit in this at-bat, and he's got an opportunity at his first strikeout.
One thing I like about the view we have here from the press box is you can really see the horizontal movement on these pitches. That was a nice sweeper that looked like right down the middle and veered off right to the corner. There's not much Zalaika could have done with that.
Zalaika will try to do something with this pitch. An 0-2 count. And Timmerman fires it in. This is going to be fouled off the end of the bat. It bangs its way off of the cage past the Miners' dugout, and the count stays at 0-2.
The Chinooks faithful are here in larger numbers than I was previously expecting. See a lot of umbrellas and Rain apparel here in the stands. We got some Miners fans here as well.
And somebody has a 10 up on one of the hillsides above the field, and somebody's going up the hill right now. A couple of people, actually. There's a swing and a miss, and Tucker Timmerman, the king of the mountain on that at-bat, he gets a strikeout on Zalaika, and that's 2 away here in the bottom of the first.
Massive out there for Timmerman. He can escape this inning with no more damage if he can retire Jacob Hayes. And, you know, there's the first of likely many strikeouts for the Nebraska man.
So Jacob Hayes, the first baseman, steps up to the plate. He has 41 at-bats on the season, 12 total hits, which is tied for the team lead. Facing a 2-out situation here. This pitch inside by Timmerman. The count goes to 1-0. He also has the team-leading batting average at .293 and a .333 on-base percentage. 1-0 count for the first baseman. Timmerman keeping a close eye over at first to see what Jordan Jaffe's doing, and he does throw over there, unable to do anything with Jordan Jaffe. 1-0 count for Hayes. Timmerman showing great versatility with his pitches once again. And that's a chopper foul left side, and the count goes to 1-1.
You can see it on the broadcast now. The rain is starting to clear up a little bit here. You see the clouds that were covering, I'm not sure which mountain that is, but it was completely obscured from view at the start of the game, and they're starting to part. The rain is a little bit lighter now, and you see Jeanette in the chat. Alaskans don't let rain stop us.
This ball's popped up right side. Richard wants it, and Richard gets it. Out number 3, so Matsu does allow 2 base runners in the bottom of the first, but that's it. They keep their lead at 1-0, and Tucker Timmerman gets a strikeout. We'll be back for the top of the second inning. Matsu up 1-0. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball right here on YouTube. Welcome back to Chugiak, Alaska, where the rain has cleared and we're playing baseball between the Miners and the Chinooks. So far, Matsu with a 1-0 lead. It's the top half of the second. And the man from Texas A&M Corpus Christi, Logan Vaughn, the catcher today, is at the plate, the number 7 man in the order. It'll be Vaughn, Strohmeyer, Richard, the first 3 due up for Matsu.
Yeah, we're down to a steady drizzle now, but I don't think it's anything that will affect the players in any meaningful way.
Vaughn will chop one right side, and it's fouled. Count goes to 0-1.
So I was starting to say, though, I see the message in the chat about a little rain doesn't stop Alaskan baseball. I would say that unless you play at Mulcahy Stadium, that is definitely true. The Miners are well aware that rainouts are possible at that park. They've had 2 of them so far this year. Made up one earlier this week against the Pilots.
Ever since then, though, the weather has been on the side of Matsu, and they've been able to play all their games, and looks as though we'll get this one in without any issue as well, and that's always a good thing to see.
Logan Vaughn just chipped his bat there, so
he did.
Got to get a new one real quick.
0-1 count. Let's see what the new bat does, and that one is way up in the air. Heck of a catch by Eisenagel to bring that thing in. and just avoid it being a wild pitch.
So this new bat, it seems, has some kind of force field around it that makes the ball go away.
Eisenagel able to bring it down with his glove hand. That was a heck of a catch by the backstop. And that's going to be outside for ball number 2. Logan Vaughn with 1 hit on the year for Matsu, but he has contributed in so many ways besides just his hitting ability. Has been a great catcher in terms of throwing guys out and has delivered clutch RBIs on a few occasions this season. Had a 2 RBI performance versus the Anchorage Bucks back on June the 8th as the count goes to 3-1.
You talk about how lucky we've been with the weather lately. Of course, Dylan and I got very lucky indeed. Yesterday we had an off day and we drove up to Denali State Park.
As that's going to be ball number 4, and Logan Vaughn will get a leadoff walk from Matsu and make his way over to first base. That's the second walk issue by Christian Perez. But as you were saying, Charlie, we got an opportunity to go see Denali State Park yesterday, and it was beautiful. There were a few clouds at first, but they cleared up after a while, and we got a great view of the mountain. Definitely recommend seeing it if you're in the area, folks. It is unlike anything else you'll see probably for the rest of your life.
It is the tallest mountain from its base in the world. You can see it from hundreds of miles away.
As that's a breaking ball by Green, count goes to 1-0. Tallest mountain base to summit in the world, like you mentioned, and also the highest peak in North America. It is truly unlike anything else. And Kellen Strohmeyer trying to help Matsu get some scoring going here in the top of the second. 1-0 count, and he's got Vaughn at first. This pitch a bit lower towards the knees of Strohmeyer, and the count goes to 2-0, and now we will see Eisenagel and Green have a conversation.
Yeah, that's now the 6th straight pitch that the pitcher John Green for the Oilers have thrown outside of the strike zone, so got to get on the same page here.
So Strohmeyer is going to get a little bit more of an opportunity to warm up. Strohmeyer with 29 at-bats coming into this game, 138 average. He has 6 walks that he's forced and 4 total hits for Matsu. Man out of Iowa, able to talk with him yesterday at the Palmer Depot Pancake Breakfast. That was another great event that we partook in the morning, and had a great time meeting Miners fans and talking about the current season and how things have been going. And you could tell that they are fired up and excited to see how this last month or so goes for Matsu as the count goes to 3-0 here.
I was really impressed with the turnout. Lots of people came out. I'm sure the pancakes and the incredible food had something to do with it, but you can tell those people really care about this team.
That they do. 3-0 count. This is going to be in for a strike. The count goes to 3-1. By the way, folks, you can read an article on our website that will detail everything that took place at the Pancake Breakfast. And check our website also for any post-game articles, and can also find those in the Frontiersman newspaper in Palmer. 3-1 count, and that pitch is low. Strohmeyer on to first, and 2 straight walks issued by John Green. Matsu now with runners on first and second once again.
Green has thrown, I believe, 10 pitches in this inning, and 8 of them have been balls. Back-to-back walks to start the inning never ended well for the pitcher issuing them, and after Ryan Richard, the top of the order, coming back up for the Miners, things could go from bad to worse very quickly for Chugiak.
Yeah, Green is certainly having some issues finding the zone here, and he's going to keep struggling with that as the count goes to 1-0. Ryan Richard at the plate, another very solid hitter for Matsu. And the thing with Green is that he has not started a game this year, so this is his first time starting from the bump, a bit of a new position for him. And he is still trying to acclimate himself to that. 1-0 count. Bunt is going to be shown by Richard. This pitch is low, ball number 2. And Ryan Richard trying to potentially load the bases if he can force another walk to be issued by Green. He's got Vaughn at second and Strohmeyer at first.
That last pitch looked very close to the strike zone. Richard is happy the call went his way. Green not catching a break here.
Here's another bunt shown. That's low and in the turf for ball number 3. Good work by Eisenagel to keep the ball in front of him and secure his glove on it.
No activity in the Oilers' pen. We're only in the second inning, but John Green is really struggling out there. Maybe it's the rain. Maybe it's, like you said, the inexperience of being a starter. Maybe it's rust, who knows, but he's got to figure it out quickly or this game could spiral.
That it could. Still no outs in this inning, by the way, and that is high and inside for ball number 4. So Ryan Richard is on to first base, and Matsu has loaded the bases against the Chinooks here in the top of the second, and now we will see a mound conversation here, and we'll find out if this leads to a potential pitching change.
I see someone just came out of the dugout is heading down to the bullpen, so there are a couple pitchers getting ready to get loose. I saw number 31 down there, which would be Gavin Alvetti, who pitched very well against the Miners back in Herman Brothers Field earlier this week. They're going to have a mound conference here. Back-to-back 5-pitch walks and then a 4-pitch walk. Not very many strikes to go around for John Green, and the guy coming up to the plate now is about the last person you want to be batting against you when you're struggling with command.
Yeah, one of the best bunters on this team, and you can bet that he may try to go for that in this situation. We'll see what the strategy is going to be, but obviously Matsu is definitely in the catbird seat at the moment, up 1-0, and with the bases juiced and no outs in the top of the second. This is pretty much exactly how you want to start things off against the Chinooks, especially when you lost that previous game 1-0. Come out here, make a statement early, and show that you are ready to go, and they certainly have.
I don't know, that might be a Tennesseeism, a catbird seat.
The catbird seat. Never heard of it?
I can't say I've heard that.
It means you're in a favorable position. You are in probably a great place to come out here and win this game, so to speak.
Is it a seat that belongs to an animal called a
you
catbird?
know how cats, they take out birds, right?
Right.
So if you're in the catbird seat, you're in a position to basically strike, so to speak. It's an interesting, whatever you want to call it, a metaphor, an interesting
euphemism,
verbiage, euphemism, yeah. But it's a big thing in Tennessee, so
Can't say I
that might
totally
be a
follow.
Tennessee thing, yeah. 0-1 count. Kerr swings and misses. He's been pretty aggressive in this at-bat, and all of a sudden John Green is finding the zone. Maybe that conversation has helped him to see what he needs to do. 0-2 count, and now Kerr trying to help Matsu get back in the catbird seat. High fly ball deep to right center field. This one back towards the wall, and it is going to be caught by Sam Kwapniowski. Tagging and scoring for the Miners is going to be Logan Vaughn, and Matsu has a 2-0 lead, a sacrifice fly for Drake Kerr.
So Drake Kerr scores the first game, or the first run of the game for the Miners. Now he drives in the second with a productive out. Strohmeyer down to third on that fly out as well. A great turn of events for the Miners. Not exactly the bases clearing sledgehammer of a hit that you know Drake Kerr is capable of delivering, but his at-bats very rarely result in absolutely nothing good for the Miners, and we saw that there.
Still productive, and right now that's the bottom line, as this is going to be a ground ball to the right side and through, and Matsu's going to score a run. Here's the throw to third. It is going to be away from the third baseman, Jaffe, and Matsu is going to keep on cruising all the way to second now is Dom Patrizzi, and the Miners have a 3-0 lead as Strohmeyer comes home on a chaotic turn of events.
Dom Patrizzi now with the clutch RBI hit. He gets all the way to second on that throw. If the throw had come into third base and the third baseman Jaffe had handled it a bit better, that might have been a close play between him and Ryan Richard, but got away, and now runners on second and third with one out, and Kyle McCausland due up. Can you ask for a better situation if you're the Miners?
Yeah, Matsu all of a sudden with a 3-0 lead, and now Kyle McCausland at the plate, the best extra base hitter on the team. He's going to foul this one off towards the right side. And towards the mountains, the count goes to 0-1. And this Miners offense has really come alive early. Remember, they scored no runs against Chugiak at home back on Wednesday, and they already have 3. And we are far from done with the second inning. Here's a breaking ball in the zone for a strike, and the count will go to 0-2. What a turnaround for this Matsu offense.
Absolutely. It's the momentum, we were wondering if it was going to keep on going from the Pilots game, and safe to say it has.
This Matsu offense was down and out in that game, but they are not right now, and that's going to be a line shot into right center. This is going to score another run. And here comes the second for Matsu. Patrizi will score as well. And that is going to be a 2-run double for Kyle McCausland, the birthday boy. Blow out the candles.
It's a two-bagger for the new 22-year-old, and it scores 2 runs. 5-0 now. The Miners on top. And the offensive train just keeps on rolling at the expense of John Green.
Richard comes home, so does Patrizi. And Matsu is cruising early on, up 5-0. This is as dominant as they've looked in a long time. You could say it's been really since that first game that they've looked this dominant. And Christian Perez is trying to add to that right here. Matsu still with only 1 out and a runner on second in Kyle McCausland. So that 2 RBI double. And now Perez is going to swing and a miss, and the count goes to 0-1.
So every at-bat in this inning so far has been productive. Even the 1 out that Green was able to get was an RBI flyout by Drake Kerr. He is getting shelled at the moment. This will likely be his last inning.
That breaking ball can't find the zone, and the count goes to 1-1. Perez forced the first walk of the game by John Green in his last plate appearance. Perez in total with 45 at-bats coming into this game and 12 total hits. That is tied for second on the team. 1-1 count. Perez will chop one foul to the right side, just barely, and the count will be 1-2.
He and Durand, the two due up, both have reached base today. Perez did so on a walk. Durand had that single, so no end in sight, no respite coming for John Green. The Miners with a chance to bat around here.
It has been kind of like batting practice these last few at-bats, as they've just found a way to send it towards the outfield. This one is high for ball number 2, and the count evens. It all started with the sacrifice fly by Drake Kerr, and then a RBI single by Dom Patrizi, and then a 2-run double by Kyle McCausland. 4 total runs now here in the top of the second.
It's a tough position to be in as a pitcher. You can't find the strike zone. You walk the bases loaded.
Perez with a fly ball out to left center, and this one gets down as well. Stopping at third base is going to be McCausland. He decides to not come home, but either way, the hit train continues, and Christian Perez is aboard with a single.
Well, that's exactly what I was starting to say. You walk the bases loaded, you have that mound conference, you get a little bit of your command back, and you're finding the strike zone more consistently, and as soon as you do that, the Miners start hitting balls really hard. Drake Kerr gets a sac fly, and now 3 straight hits off of John Green, and I would be surprised if this was not the end of his day.
And it is going to be the end, as he has to give up the ball. Obviously, not the performance he was looking for, but he still gets a nice ovation from the Chugiak fans. And we'll see a new pitcher coming out here for the Chinooks. But for the Matsu Miners, they are feeling it early on, and these guys have come ready to play and are making a statement against the Chinooks to start things off. As we'll see our second pitcher of the game for Chugiak after Green has to leave. He had 1 strikeout, but also issued 4 balls and gave up 5 runs to Matsu here in 1 1/3 inning.
And this is going to be Gavin Alvetti, who pitched against the Miners the last time these two teams met. Overall on the season, he's got a 2.35 ERA and 7 2/3 innings pitched. Has allowed 6 hits, just 2 earned runs, and struck out 9 over the course of those innings. So he's been one of the best relievers, emergency long relievers for the Chinooks, and he's got to put in a long shift here if the home team wants any chance of coming back and getting into this game. He's got to hold the Miners offense down and give his bats a chance to finally break through against the Miners pitchers.
Brandon Duran's going to be the next man up for Matsu, by the way, who had the first RBI single of the day back in the top half of the first inning. So this pitching change, at least from that standpoint, very much necessary for the Chinooks, just to make sure that you don't give up any more runs in this situation. Already down by 5. Galvin Alvetti, the right-handed pitcher out of Searcy, Arkansas, and plays for Central Arkansas. He had a season-high 5 innings pitched versus Jacksonville back on March 30th and 6 strikeouts versus LSU back on February 19th. Out of high school, he was the number 3 right-handed pitcher in Arkansas and the number 20 overall player in the state by perfect game. So he has definitely been in command many times, and he's got that unique sidearm motion which he used to devastate Matsu, for lack of a better term, back on Wednesday. and now he's going to try to replicate that success and shut down the PC of this Matsu offense. So Brandon Durand is going to be the next man up. 5, 6, 7 will be the first three that we will see Gavin Alvetti face off here against. And Durand, of course, with that RBI single in his first at-bat. Wilcox flew out to center, and then Logan Vaughn forced a walk.
Just a little update. The couple of the runs that have scored in this inning will be unearned because the scorers here in Chugiak have issued an error. There was a throw that came into the third baseman that got away from him that would have had the runner, I believe it was Patrizzi or Richard, out at third base, but he was able to slide in safe, and he later came around to score. So I believe that'll add 2 or 3 unearned runs, but of course doesn't change the dominant position, the fish seat, if you will. What is it? Catfish seat?
Catbird seat.
Catbird seat.
Catbird seat. We'll get that one down eventually.
Yeah.
1-1 count for Brandon Durand, and Matsu up 5-0. And here's a fly ball out to left. It is going to be a fair ball. Or no, they called it a foul. They called it a foul.
That was just foul.
That was just foul.
Just to the edge of the line.
It was very close. I was trying to see on my side, and I thought it got down in the white, but it did not. Count goes to 1-2.
I swear, every batted ball off the Miners' bats that goes down one of those lines end up just foul. And someday we'll get one that is on the other side of the line.
Durand's had a few of those this season that have been pretty close to the boundary. This is definitely fair. It's a ground ball to short. Throw to second is in time for 1 out, but Matsu is going to score a run as it is Kyle McCausland who comes home, and the Miners up 6-0 now.
Durand's got his second single. He was legging that out regardless, and he gets another clutch RBI, 2 already for him in the day, and dating back to last game, that's 3. He's on an absolutely torrid stretch, as is this entire Matsu attack.
So McCausland comes in, Matsu up 6-0 now in this game as Chase Wilcox makes his way to the plate, and he wants to have some fun as well. Watches this go by. It's going to be ball number 1 for Gavin Alvetti, who is, again, just trying to cool off this Matsu attack. Christian Perez, by the way, the guy who got out on that out at second base. So it is just Durand at first, the only base runner for Matsu, and Durand's going towards second. Here's the throw, and it's in time. Dustin Eisenagel able to get it over to Louis Zalaika for the 3rd out in this inning, but Matsu still very, very productive. 5 runs in 1 frame, and they have a 6-0 lead on the Chugiak-Eagle Chinooks. We'll see if they can keep the dominance going in the bottom half of this inning. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to Chugiak, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call. And yes, the Matsu Miners are back in full force today, up 6-0 on the Chugiak-Eagle Chinooks. If you'll remember back early on in the season, they were 4-1 overall, maybe the top team in the ABL. They tapered off for a bit, but that old Miners team, it seems like, has come back here, and with it, the dominance that we saw early on against the Chinooks in that 9-1 season opening win. And now Oliver Dagenhart and his team need a quick response as that pitch is inside by Tucker Timmerman. Count goes to 1-0, and with this kind of deficit, it's going to be hard for Chugiak to overcome this gap. This ball fouled by Dagenhart, and the count's going to be 1-1.
Yeah, not a lot of good news to go around for the home fans here, but one thing to celebrate, the rain has stopped, and the sun is even starting to come out here. So the weather is improving. Looks like we should have a clear, or at least precipitation-free game the rest of the way.
Fly ball out to right. This one is going to be fouled towards the Miners bullpen. Count will be 1-2. Want to send a brief congratulations to John Groth, who's going to be leaving the Chinooks here in the next couple days. He's going down to Ohio to help start a summer collegiate baseball team, as that's going to be a swing and a miss and a strikeout for Timmerman, his second of the game as he takes out Dagenhart. But wanted to send a brief congrats to him. He's been a huge part of the Chinooks organization and the ABL as a whole. And we've gotten to know him a little bit this summer, and he's a great guy to talk to. And he's overcome some tough things in his life. He was in a coma for 3 weeks a few years back and was able to overcome that. And we want to send him a brief congratulations and good luck in his next endeavor. He has been a huge part of the ABL.
Yeah, he's an institution here.
As that's a comebacker up the middle, a diving play by Patrizzi, and a throw to first is going to be not in time. It's going to be a single for Keaton Laidley in his first at-bat of the game. And Chugiak does have a runner aboard, a one-out single.
Good play by Patrizzi. That was a little high, so even if it had been in time, it would not have been enough to get the out, but the speedy Laidley able to beat the throw out anyway. Like I was saying, though, John Groth is an institution here in Chugiak. He has worn just about every cap you can imagine, coach, general manager, and now broadcaster in the booth next to us. This is the last home game he'll be calling for this team, and got honored before the game. All the Chugiak fans were happy to see him and celebrate him, and this organization is going to be forever, and this organization and the league as well. And we can personally attest that he's been very helpful as the Presto Sports whisperer that we've been able to talk to in the early part of this season. He has helped us get the statistics on the Matsu website that, by the way, any fans who want to see statistics, live stats, I believe for live stats you'd have to go to the Chinooks website today, but the cumulative stats are all there on the website, and they would not be there without him. Just one of a million ways that he has made this team and this league better. So the short time we've known him, we already are able to say all that much, so I'll let that speak for itself.
And it speaks a lot for him and what he's done for the league and the Chinooks. 2-0 count now for Sam Kwapniowski. And it's a fly ball out to left. It's going to be fouled. Count goes to 2-1.
Now that the rain has let up, sorry, partner.
No, you're good.
The rain has let up. The tent up there is still there, but we've got a few more people scaling the hill. Obviously, when the weather is clear, the large hill that you can see on the left side of the field is a great place to watch the game from and see the surrounding scenery.
2-1 count for Kwapniowski, and he fouls this one off the left leg, and the count's going to be 2-2 for the right fielder. There's a lot of great places to watch the ball game here in Chugiak, Alaska, and of course you've got a great view of the surrounding mountains. Of course, we can't see them right now because a massive fog bank has rolled in and blocked it off, but I can assure you at the early part of this game, it was beautiful.
My humble opinion, though, the best place to watch this particular game is the YouTube chat you are in right now.
And Herman Brothers Field isn't too bad as well. Pretty good place to watch baseball. 2-2 count. Pitch by Timmerman is in the zone for a strikeout. Tucker Timmerman with his third K of the game. This time he takes out Kwapniowski, and Matsu is rolling once again. 2 outs, and now Dustin Eisenagel will come to the plate.
Took him a little bit to find his footing there, allowing that opening single and runners on the corners with 1 out, but after that he has found the form that we saw against the Pilots and not let it go.
So Eisenagel on now for the Chugiak-Eagle Chinooks. 5-9 overall in ABL play. Currently positioned as the 4th team, I believe, in the standings, as that's a check swing. It goes by Eisenagel, and Vaughn a little bit slow to get up as it made contact with him somewhere. Looks like he's okay, just trying to brush it off. Count's going to be 0-1. and did confirm that he was good with the dugout, so no problems with Logan Vaughn. Matsu wearing their camo jerseys today against the Chinooks. Chugiak in their red and white pants. Matsu has had some success in the camos as of late. If I'm not mistaken, they wore those on Friday against the Pilots and had a pretty big win there. Eisenagel trying to help Chugiak to get a win back here. Moved to 6-9 in the ABL standings. Matsu solidly in third right now, and they can solidify that even more with a win today. Would put them in position to maybe make a run on the Oilers and the Bucks. Runners going to second. Here's the throw from Vaughn, and it is not going to be in time. It's a stolen base for Keaton Laidley, and that's going to be a 2-out stolen base. Runner in scoring position for Chugiak.
You saw the legs on him when he was able to run out that leg out that infield hit, and now he shows it again. That was a good throw from Vaughn, but the speed from the Chinooks left fielder too much. For the second straight inning, they have a runner in scoring position.
So Eisenagel comes on. Last year, Chugiak was 2-3 at home against Matsu. So far 0-1 this season. Trying to avoid falling to 0-2. These two teams will meet each other quite a bit in July as well. 1-1 count. This ball popped up and fouled. Up and over the cage it goes, and Souvenir City for somebody out there. 1-2 count. Chinooks will be able to get back to the top of the order if Eisenagel can survive this at-bat. Kate Smith did have a leadoff single against Timmerman like you were talking about, partner. And that could be what Chugiak needs to help chip away at this lead. Pitch to Eisenagel. It's going to be chopped and fouled. And the count will stay at 1-2. He's doing a good job of keeping this at-bat alive, just staying patient and trying to strike at an opportune moment. 1-2 count with 2 away. Matsu trying to make sure that Chugiak puts no runs on the board here in the second and preserve their 6-run lead. And they will. It's Tucker Timmerman who steps up once again. Another strikeout here in the second. He's got 4 total for the game. Very reminiscent of earlier performances in the season. Matsu is cruising in Chugiak, up 6-0. We'll be back for the top of the third. You're watching Miners Baseball here on YouTube. Welcome back to Chugiak, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call. The top half of the third inning is on the way, and Chase Wilcox is at the plate. Miners up 6-0 over the Chinooks, and Wilcox trying to add to that. He flew out to center in his first at-bat, didn't get a chance to complete his second at-bat in the top half of the second inning. As he flies this one out fouled, count is going to be 1-1.
We're only in the third inning, and already Wilcox is the only Miner that has not reached base. Everyone who batted in the second inning reached base except for Drake Kerr, and he made the most of his flyout, driving in a run.
Most of that was against a different pitcher, though. This is Galvin Alvetti, who so far has been pretty solid against Matsu. Did a Solid job doing what he could to clean up the top half of the second, although Matsu did still put 1 run in, thanks to a second RBI single from Brandon Durand. Wilcox, a fly ball out to left field. This one is going to stay within the yard, and the catch is made by Keaton Laidley. A fly out to left and 1 away.
Gavin Alvetti coaxing a opening out for the first time this game. The Miners have wasted little time in each of their first 2 innings, pouring on runs on the scoreboard. And, who's to say whether or not they'll keep scoring at that pace, but it does bear mentioning that the ABL does have a run rule similar to NCAA baseball. If one team leads by 10 or more runs after the 7th inning, the game will end. And in NCAA, that's also 12 runs after 5 innings. The game will end then. We're not sure if that is in effect, but the 7-inning rule we can say for certain is in effect. So if the Miners can tack on a few more, that could be in play.
Logan Vaughn back at the plate. He forced a walk in his first at-bat of the game. That led off the top of the second and was the first domino to fall on their way to all the scoring. Pitch by Alvetti is outside. It's ball 2.
Vaughn not getting much to hit so far.
Yeah, hasn't had much of an opportunity.
Not that he'll complain.
He will take it all day, and he's been pretty solid in the past at drawing walks for Matsu. As that comes inside for ball 3 at the knees of Vaughn. Vaughn forced a total of 6 walks coming into this game, and now has 7, and has a chance at number 8 right here. 3-1 count. We'll see if Vaughn can work his magic again. Pitch by Alvetti, and that's ball 4. So Logan Vaughn gets on first base for the 2nd straight time on a base on balls, and Matsu once again with a runner aboard, this time in the top of the 3rd.
So the Oilers can't seem to keep him off base. Logan Vaughn is 0-37 on the season, just 1 hit in 27 at-bats coming into the day, but the Chinooks still not giving him anything he can hit.
As that pitch comes in for a ball. By the way, these 2 teams will meet again on July the 2nd, back here actually, in a Tuesday matchup as the count goes to 1-0 on Strohmeyer. So these 2 will meet again soon. Fly out, and it's going to be fouled. Count goes to 1-1 for the left field, or right fielder rather.
Out of Iowa, Dubuque, as we learned it is pronounced, is a redshirt freshman with the Hawkeyes.
That he is, and he's been a very solid one, especially for Matsu, as that pitch comes in outside and low for ball number 2. Ryan Richard, the next man up for the Miners, and right now there's really no weak point in this lineup, which makes it all the more fun for this team and makes it even tougher for this Chugiak pitching staff to deal with. Everyone having fun today. This is going to be fouled into the cage. Logan Vaughn was trying to get second base, and he could not. The count's going to be 2-2. Vaughn will have to go back to first on the foul ball.
With Ryan Richard on deck, this is the trio 7, 8, 9 of the order that were walked to start the 2nd inning by John Green. All 3 would come in to score, along with 2 more.
2-2 count. This is fouled off the leg of Strohmeyer, and the count stays at 2-2. As he tries to get back on base once again. Like you mentioned, he forced a walk in his first at-bat of the day. Didn't see any action in 2023 for Iowa, but did get a little bit this past season. Played in a total of 17 games. He had 3 hits, and in that kind of environment, against that kind of competition, you learn so much about yourself and how good you can truly be. Here's a fly ball out to left field, and it's going to be caught on the knees by Keaton Laidley. What a sliding catch, and that's out too.
Laidley continues to be a bright spot in an otherwise not so bright day for the Chinooks so far. He's had some good plays on the base paths, and now a nice catch out there. Still, the Miners are cruising, and that will not take anything away from that.
Yeah, Chase Wilcox flew out to him earlier on in this frame, and now Kellen Strohmeyer does the same. 2 outs, Ryan Richard at the plate. This pitch goes outside, and a diving catch by the catcher Eisenagel to keep that in front of him. Count goes to 1-0, and Logan Vaughn can't advance to second. Richard playing second base today, also forcing a walk in his first at-bat. Throw back to first Unable to do anything with Vaughn is Jacob Hayes.
It's a reminder tomorrow the Miners return to Herman Brothers Field to take on the Pilots.
1-0 count. This pitch is inside for ball 2.
But before that, the players and broadcasters and coaches, so that will include us, will be at a couple of Fred Meyer locations in the Valley to hand out some tickets. It is Fred Meyer Day at Herman Brothers tomorrow. So if you want to put a face to the voices that you hear every day and you happen to be in town, we will be there.
We'll be there, and we hope you will be too. It's going to be a great event out in Palmer. This is softly hit and fouled by Ryan Richard, and the count will go to 2-2. Part of the many great community events that the Matsu Miners take part in, and it's always great to see the people of Palmer out at these events. So hope to see you there. 2-2 count. Richard trying to advance Vaughn forward and get on base once again. This is a lined foul to the left of the third base bag. Count staying at 2-2 for the second baseman. The Miners trying to get back-to-back wins for the first time since before the MLB Showcase, when some of their mid-season struggles, we'll say, began. Pitch on the way, and that's low for ball number 3.
The Chugiak fans not happy about that one. Just a little bit low. Richard with a good eye.
Payoff pitch. Yep, payoff pitch for Ryan Richard. This could be a big one. And he is going to swing and miss at it. It's going to be a strikeout, and he cranks his head in frustration, but Matsu still with a 6-0 lead, held scoreless for the first time today in an inning here in the top of the third. We'll be back for the bottom half of this inning. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball right here on YouTube. Welcome back to Lee Jordan Field in Chugiak, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call. It's an early game today, starting at 2 o'clock Alaskan time, but Matsu has shown no worries whatsoever so far, up 6-0. They have been in fuego in this game, and they're trying to keep it up here in the bottom of the third defensively as we go back to the top of the order for Chugiak. Cade Smith to lead off. That's a breaking ball by Tucker Timmerman, who gets that one in for a strike. He had 3 Ks in the second inning, has 4 total in this game.
Smith, one of the 2 Chinooks hitters to get the better of Tucker Timmerman. He led this game off with a single on the very first pitch, got all the way to third on a throwing error, but was stranded there.
1-1 count. His pitch inside for ball 2. Count goes to 2-1 on Smith as Matsu looks to preserve their lead. Smith out of Searcy, Arkansas, the lone SEC player in the ABL. 2-1 count. Chops this one foul to the left of the third base line, and the count will be 2-2.
And Smith drove in the only run the last time these two teams played. That was an unearned run that was the deciding factor in a 1-0 loss. So the Miners not too fond of him.
And Smith will send this one right to the third baseman. A little bit of a bobble. Throw to first is going to be in time. Nice work by Chase Wilcox as Matsu gets a 5-3 putout, one away.
Good recovery by Wilcox. It ate him up at first, but he got it right back into his glove, threw it across, and it was still in time to get the out. It's just little things like that that help a defense coalesce, and the Miners have seen that. They've got a duo of infield errors in this game. Luckily, the score will most likely render them moot, but this whole season that's been a big point of emphasis.
Something that they've wanted to correct for sure. Pitch by Timmerman to Jaden Hill. It's a fly ball deep into right field, but it's going to stay in the yard, and Strohmeyer is there. He makes the catch. 2 outs.
I gritted my teeth as soon as that ball left the bat of Jaden Hill. He just got under it, but if he had a little bit of a better angle, that would have been way over the fence. That was hit very hard. By far the hardest ball that Timmerman has allowed, but he gets away with it. 2 outs. The Miners cruising yet again.
Here comes Jordan Jaffe to the plate. He got to first on an error in his first at-bat of the game. We talked about the error that Matsu has committed so far. 1-0 count. Timmerman trying to make sure that that doesn't repeat itself. Maybe get him with a strikeout. This one is going to be popped up and fouled. Count goes to 1-1.
Yeah, I misspoke before. Just one error on the part of the Miners. I got my home and away teams confused. The 2 errors belongs to the Chinooks. Those were both in the second inning.
Jaffe with a .235 average on the season, a .373 slugging percentage, which is second best, but not by much. 1-1, and that's a strike. Count goes to 1-2. Nice pitch by Tucker Timmerman.
Wouldn't be a Timmerman inning if it didn't feature a strikeout, so here's his chance.
Yeah, he's got an opportunity right here. He could make it 5. Here's the pitch, and he gets the 5th one. Tucker Timmerman doing what he does best. He has been dominant as usual today. 5 strikeouts already. It's like going to Five Guys, burgers and fries, and Tucker Timmerman is taking care of business. We'll be back for the top half of the 4th. Charlie Fellows will take you the rest of the way through. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. I'll be back in the 8th. Don't go anywhere. To Lee Jordan Field in Chugiak, Alaska, home of the Chugiak-Eagle River Chinooks, although so far this season the Matsu Miners have enjoyed playing there much more. They've gotten lopsided wins, or got a lopsided win the first time they played here, and they're well on their way potentially to another one here today. Top of the 4th, ready to get started, and that's a line shot up the middle and through for a base hit. Drake Kerr keeps the train rolling just as it was in the first 3 innings. The Miners wasting no time, reminding everyone in attendance that they are here to hit. The offense has come back, and Drake Kerr at the center. Yeah, that's his first hit of the day, a comebacker right up the middle, over the mound and past Alvetti. He could do nothing but watch that thing just roll its way into shallow center, and Drake Kerr, who already has an RBI in this game, now reaching first on a single. Also reached on an E6 in his first at-bat, so he's had a pretty productive outing as per usual.
So the leadoff man is aboard. Now Patrizi pops it up onto the infield. The shortstop has it. DeGenhart for a quick first out. Kerr stays at first.
Yeah, pretty easy for Degenhart that time, able to just bring that down with no big issue. As we'll see, McCausland comes on, and he's had a pretty solid outing so far. The birthday boy already with a 2 RBI double, coming back in his second at-bat. and he's got a chance to add to it right here.
That was off of John Green, and that throw to first gets past the first baseman, so Drake Kerr is going to make him pay. You cannot make mistakes in the infield when that man is on the base paths. Jacob Hayes doesn't corral it, so down to second goes the leadoff man.
Yeah, that is the one guy you've got to avoid making that mistake on, because he'll make you pay in no time. And Drake Kerr just turned on the Jets after that. That's going to be the third error now for Chugiak in this game.
First pitch coming to McCausland. And he looks at a strike right down the middle out of Wellesley, Massachusetts, and Middlebury College. I believe he's still got some family in attendance, at least in Alaska. I would imagine they're at this game.
What a place to celebrate your birthday, Alaska.
That's a high bouncing ball. The DeGenhardt is going to field it and throw on, but there's no play. McCausland legs out the hit, and runners on the corners once again. A pair of singles and some good base running by the Miners, and they're picking up right where they left off.
Yeah, that was an example of a ball being softly hit and really having no play available. DeGenhardt came over and tried to do something with it, but there was just nowhere to go. He kind of feigned to throw to first, but he knew he was not going to be able to make it in time. So rather than risking it and potentially having McCausland go to second and Drake Kerr come home, he decided to just eat it. And I think in this situation, that's what you need to do.
So that is now 7 hits by our count for the Miners. 6 according to the stadium scoreboard. In any event, that's much more than their Chugiak counterparts, who have no runs on 2 hits and now 3 errors. Christian Perez will bat for the 3rd time this game. He's got a single and a walk, has also been caught stealing. He's been thrown out on a fielder's choice. It was Durand, the man due up, who has been caught stealing. Perez, like everyone in this at bat, in this order, I should say, having a great day. Runner goes down to second, the throw, and now throwing to third instead was Eisenagel, and either way, he probably wouldn't have gotten an out. McCausland gets second base for free, and the situation goes from bad to a little bit worse for Chugiak.
That was a great example of base running by Kyle McCausland that time. Got a pretty big leadoff and just took advantage of Gavin Alvetti, and the throw from Eisenagel, or the potential throw from Eisenagel, was just not going to be able to reach in time. So he, kind of like what we saw with DeGenhardt do earlier on, just decided to keep it in his hand and not risk it. But now all of a sudden you've got 2 runners in scoring position in Christian Perez, who already has a single in this game, with a chance to send them both in.
1-2 pitch coming from Gavin Alvetti. And that's into left field, down for a base hit past the third baseman. 1 run comes in. Here comes McCausland. He will score without incident. Going to second and getting there is Christian Perez, a second double of the game for the Miners. 2 more come home to score. It's now 8-0.
Beautiful 2-run double that time, right along the left field line. And you saw Jaffe try to do something with it, but there was just no way he was going to be able to get to that baseball. That's now 8 total hits for Matsu in this game by our count, and Christian Perez doing what he's done so well as of late. Got a single already, he's walked once, and now a 2-run double here in the top half of the 4th. Matsu up by a total score of 8-0.
The procession continues for the Miners, and Gavin Alvetti will have to weather the storm. He's got a man on second now for Brandon Durand, who swings and misses. Durand had an RBI single in the first and drove in another run in the second. He was caught stealing to end that frame, but that did little to dampen the great day that he has had as the 0-1 comes in, and quick 0-2 for Gavin Alvetti trying to get his second out.
Yeah, Brandon Durand has been really on point as of late. Already 2 RBI singles in this game, and we already saw what he did against the Glacier Pilots back on Friday. That massive RBI single to bring in Kyle McCausland and tied up that game. He has been so good in the biggest moments, and he really was the kickstarter early on, right? He sent in Drake Kerr in that first at-bat. That's what started all of the scoring. So I think I called him the generator earlier on, and he has lived up to that nickname these past few games.
I'm willing to work with that one too, because of course last game against the Pilots, that was the role he served. Mile high pop, going to go out of play on the right side. He drove in a run in the bottom of the 7th that tied the game at 2, and it opened the floodgates for what ultimately ended up being a 5-run frame that won the Miners that game. 0-2 from Alvetti, and that's in the zone, strike 3. His second K. Durand goes down for the first time.
Yeah, Durand decided to lay off of this one, but He knew, I think, immediately that was a pretty perfect strike from Malvetti that time, right in the zone. Nice fastball, and that is a needed one for Chugiak, but you still have to contend with Chase Wilcox, who is due for a hit here in his third at-bat.
He's the only minor that has not reached base with a pair of flyouts in this game. And he looks at a first pitch strike from Malvetti. Not only is he the only minor that has not reached base, he is one of only 4 out of the 9 that does not have a hit in this game. And the longer on this goes, I would wager that more will join that club soon, including potentially Wilcox. This is on the ground to DeGenhart, throws over, and in time to get him to retire the side. So Chase will have to wait one more day, but I doubt he's feeling too bad, considering the Miners added a couple more runs. They lead it 8-0 after the top of the 4th. Bottom 4 coming up. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Bottom 4 coming up at Lee Jordan Field in Chugiak, Alaska. Matsu up 8-0 on the home Chugiak-Eagle River Chinooks, who have Louis Zalaika, Jacob Hayes, and Oliver Degenhart, who someday I will learn to pronounce his name correctly consistently. It is Degenhart. Due up here in the bottom of the 4th. Not a lot has gone right for the Chinooks so far on either side of the ball. They have just a pair of hits in this game and no runs. Right down the middle from Tucker Timmerman to start off the frame. Timmerman, on the other hand, has struck out 5 Chinooks, not walked anyone.
Yeah, kind of lost, and if you've ever seen the SpongeBob episode, lost in all the offensive hoopla, Tucker Timmerman's been great.
That's up the middle, fielded by Patrizzi, throws on a nice play, 6-3 put out from Patrizzi to Perez, and one away in the 4th.
Yeah, great work by Patrizzi that time, coming over. He's made a few good plays from the infield today already, and that was a great example of that. Recognized where the ball was headed and didn't hesitate. Got over there and handled it cleanly. Nice 6-3 put out, and that's what Matsu wants to see from their infield defense.
Jacob Hayes will bat now. He popped out to second base to leave runners on the corners in the 1st. And it's interesting looking back on that moment where it felt like this game could potentially be a close one, and you wonder how differently it might have panned out if he had been able to drive that run home, and instead the Miners have run away with it here, and Timmerman is absolutely dealing. That's off the end of the bat into foul territory off the right side. Strohmeyer giving chase right on the edge, and it went off his glove. He almost had a foul out, but he misjudged it and closed his glove a little bit too early, so second lease on life for Jacob Hayes.
Yeah, kind of misjudged at that time. I wonder if the mound being there for the bullpen area may have thrown him off just a little bit. May have been like, wait a second, I'm not on the usual field, and maybe lost his concentration for just a moment.
Yeah,
and I think you see Tucker Timmerman, I think he's smiling over there. At least he was for a second.
You can't see it on the broadcast, but there's a little protrusion over there on the very right corner of the field in foul territory. That's a bullpen mound. That's inside 1 ball and 2 strikes, and I wonder if that might have been a part of it, but it did go off his glove, so
right.
He definitely had the catch made, and however it came to pass, it did not end up going into his glove. That's a bouncing ball to third. Wilcox coming on, throwing, and gets the second straight ground out, 2 away for the Chinooks here that have had now 6 straight Chinooks batters have been retired by Timmerman and this Miners defense.
I love the form that Wilcox showed on that 5-3 putout. You saw the way that he turned his body on the throw. That is quintessential fielding and quintessential throwing of the baseball as an infield defender. Did a great job of getting that into first, and that's how you get the power in that time, and he absolutely displayed that.
Beautiful looping curve from Timmerman. Drops into the zone to start Oliver Degenhardt out with a strike. He struck out in the 2nd inning, and he lines one down the left field line. That's going to drop for a fair ball, roll all the way to the wall. It'll be picked up by McCausland coming into 2nd, and content with a double is Oliver Degenhardt. The first big extra base hit of the game for the Chinooks, and a 2-out man in scoring position now here in the 4th.
Yeah, solid shot by Degenhardt into left field that time, but a good job by McCausland to chase down that baseball. Like you talked about, it rolled basically all the way towards the corner, so could have been potentially even worse. You could have had Degenhardt go on to 3rd, so that was a good job by McCausland to just get to that thing in time and showed some nice speed.
It's a good point you make there. There's another bullpen mound protrusion over there, and I was worried it might take a weird bounce off of that and end up being a triple or even worse, but it was played well by McCausland and kept Degenhardt at 2nd. Now here's a ground ball to Patrizzi, rendering it moot, and he will. Perez gets the feed, 3 ground outs in the inning for Timmerman. Doesn't get a K, but he does get another clean frame. 8-0 Miners. You're watching Matsu on YouTube. We head to the top of the 5th here in the beautiful Lee Jordan Field. Beautiful, at least if you're a Matsu fan, as they have an 8-0 lead over the Chugiak-Eagle River Chinooks as we are nearly halfway home here. The Chinooks have a new man on the mound making his first appearance on the year, normally an outfielder for Chugiak, but he will test his merit with a glove. It's Brady Groves.
Yeah, Brady Groves has not pitched for Chugiak this year, but he has been the outfielder on several occasions, or been an outfielder. 6'0", 195 out of Youngsville, New York. Freshman, Oberlin College is where he makes his money. Season high 4 hits versus Westminster, Pennsylvania, and had 3 RBIs versus Capital back on March 21st. He was on the Dodgers scout team this past season in 2023 as well, and he is right now trying to work as a pitcher against Matsu. Miners up 8-0 in full command of this game, so he's got a big task ahead of him, and he'll have to deal with Logan Vaughn as his first man at the plate.
It'll be 7-8-9. Vaughn, Strohmeyer, and Richard due up in the top of the 5th, and Vaughn looks at his strike. Catcher from Texas A&M Corpus Christi has drawn a pair of walks, also scored a run, as so many players on this minor squad have. 0-1 coming from Groves, and another strike, so I'm not sure how much pitching experience he does have, but clearly some, because he definitely looks comfortable up there on the mound. 2 quick strikes into the Miners catcher, and working quickly off the end of the bat, grounded to second base. A little bit of a miscommunication, but they recover just in time. The second baseman, Zalaika, wasn't sure if either he or Groves was going to cover it, and Groves bailed out at the last second, so it was closer than it probably needed to for Zalaika, but ended up just the same, a 4-3 putout. Vaughn retired for the first time.
Yeah, like you mentioned, that was a little bit lucky because Groves kind of hesitated and was waiting on Zalaika, and that's going to be a hit by pitch.
That pitch goes all the way to the backstop, and actually that hit him.
Yeah,
yes, it did. It went off his ankle. So Kellen Strohmeyer with a free pass to add to his collection. He's also walked in this game.
I was about to say, I thought that caught him. It just barely did, and when it hit him, it actually went all the way towards where we are, hit the cage.
I looked down for a second, and I looked up, and there was a ball rolling to the backstop, so I wasn't sure entirely what happened, but a hit by pitch it was, so 1-on-1 out for Ryan Richard, the 9-man, and he nearly gets plunked as well. Has to duck out of the way, so perhaps a little bit of rust showing for Brady Groves.
Yeah, one thing Chugiak has struggled with as of late is their pitching. They just haven't quite been on as they would like to be on these recent games. They gave up five runs to the Glacier Pilots back on Monday the 24th, and then 6 to them on Thursday, and 7 last night. And they've already given up 8 today against Matsu. They had 8 against the Bucks back on Thursday the 20th.
This had been one of the better rotations in the ABL through the early part of the season. Opening day against these Miners notwithstanding. That pitch is just high, 2-1. Happy to report the clouds are clearing, and you're getting to see the full extent of the view that the broadcasters get here at Lee Jordan Field, a beautiful one at that. The rolling hills, foothills of, I believe that would be the Chugach Mountains.
Yep, still part of the Chugach Mountains, yep.
3-1 coming from Groves. Chugach and Mountains, they were majestic as that's hit very high but foul off to the left side by Richard. They, of course, are still breathtaking every time you see them, but after you see Denali, it's tough to be impressed quite on the same level, as I'm sure Dylan can also attest to.
Absolutely, but, you know, it's like my mom tells me, you got to find beauty in the little things, and that's what you have to do. No matter where you are, no matter what you see, you got to find beauty in what you see around you.
And in so doing, you have just referred to the mountains as little things, which proves my point. That's ball 4 to Richard.
Hey, these mountains are pretty big compared to the Tennessee mountains. I mean, these are some massive mountains. I'm not even going to lie. They make the Tennessee mountains look like hills.
That definitely makes sense to me. Maine has a few mountains. Mount Katahdin is the most well-known of those, but they don't really have any mountain ranges in the same way that Alaska does, where they're just going on and on as far as the eye can see. Katahdin kind of just stands on its own. There are a lot of ski mountains in Maine, but they don't get too high up compared to the mountains that we see on a daily basis. Anyway, Drake Kerr, the top of the order, will bat for the 4th time. He has singled, reached on an error in this game, and has also driven in a run with a sac fly. He's got 1-1 for his count.
He's been great today. Already had a single in his last at-bat, an RBI sacrifice fly earlier. He's reached base twice today, and he can do it again right here.
Stepping off the mound there was Groves to keep Strohmeyer in check. He's at second, and Richard at first, with a hit by pitch and a walk, respectively. Now that's inside, and they're going to say that hit Kerr. So Groves has been very, very close to plunking batters on several occasions, and he has done it twice already in this inning. So some control issues here for the converted outfielder, and that will load the bases with 1 out.
Yeah, another loading of the bases for Matsu, and again, the pitching woes for Chugiak continue in this game, and you've got Dom Patrizzi up, who's already been pretty big time in this game. He has an RBI single and had an opportunity in his last at-bat, just popped one out to the shortstop, but he's got a great opportunity here.
With Kyle McCausland on deck, the top of the order for the Miners, and it's been a dangerous one. That ball's in the dirt, or the dirt-adjacent turf. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out here in the top of the 5th. Runner at every base. The Miners trying to keep pouring it on, and potentially, if Patrizzi can get a big knock here, he could get the Miners on the precipice of taking a 12-run lead, and we would all find out together if that run rule does in fact exist. That's fouled off once more, 1-2. That would come into play after the bottom of the 5th if the Chinooks can't score a run to take that 12-run lead away. Of course, we're getting very far ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah, a long way to go before that, but also keep in mind the 7-inning run rule. Matsu can take a 10-run lead, which is pretty possible here. Could see it end in 7.
1-2, just barely getting a piece of that there was Patrizzi. With a strikeout, a pop-out, and a single in this game.
And you know that Chugiak is not going to want to end this out that way, so they are going to be doing what they can late. Keep Matsu away from it.
That's high and tight. Nearly got him in the head. The Miners pitcher's having to duck out of the way several times during this inning.
Yeah, Groves is struggling a little bit with control right now. Just can't find the zone, a little bit inconsistent on some of these throws.
2-2. Patrizzi, by that same token, though, struggling to get quality contact. He's fouled off a lot of pitches in this at-bat. Staying alive, though. He does lead the Miners in walks drawn, so that could be his end game here. Instead, he hits one hard out to left field. That's going to drop down for a base hit. One run is going to score. Rounding third, coming home to score is Richard. And that's a 2-run single for Dom Patrizzi, 10-0.
My gracious, the 2-run single has been employed. And how about Dom Patrizzi with that deep shot into left center? It wasn't quite the home run that you were talking about, but it was pretty darn close. And it scores 2 runs for Matsu. Now they are at that 10-run precipice to end this game in 7 innings. And Dom Patrizzi has been huge today already. 3 RBIs and just keeping the train rolling.
So the runner will be on first and second, and that's a balk there. Called on Brady Groves. He's just having a miserable time out there on the mound. So 2 more runners will advance into scoring position. Kerr at third, and Patrizzi now to second on the miscue by Groves. And McCausland, if he can get another solid knock, as he's done 2 times already, and now the umpire perhaps just clarifying the ruling there. I thought maybe he called him for a balk again. Here's the pitch. High pop-up into shallow right field. Converging on it are a few fielders, and it's going to be the center fielder, Hill, who will get it. And a nice throw by Hill to prevent the speedster Kerr from coming in to score. That is no easy task, and gets a smattering of applause from the Chugiak faithful. 2 away in the 5th.
Yeah, he did a good job to get that throw out. That was a heck of a cannon shot all the way towards home plate, and no opportunity for Matsu to score a run with Trey Kerr in that situation, who's known for his speed, so good work by Hill.
Christian Perez has a single, a double, and a walk. He has not scored a run yet in this game, although he has driven in a few, and he hits that one high and deep to center field, but not deep enough. Once again, Hill will make the grab, and that will retire the side. The Miners leave a pair in scoring position, but they also played a pair, and they lead it 10-0, the largest lead they've had in any game this season, and they are in position to end this thing early after 7 innings. If this is the score, it will be final. Chugiak's going to try and put one on the scoreboard just for pride's sake with the bottom of the 5th coming up. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. To the bottom of the 5th, and sorry if I just blinded everybody, but in between innings, the sun has officially come out. The clouds have been burned away, and it's like the rain never happened. Tucker Timmerman starts off Sam Kwapnowski with a strike. He's facing off against 8, 9, and 1 here in the bottom of the 5th for Chugiak. Still going strong here.
Yeah, that sun is bright right now. It's going to make it tough on these outfielders and infielders for that matter.
That's grounded to first. Perez will take it himself and actually tosses on to Timmerman. That was a nice play because he might not have won the foot race. Instead, heads up D and a quick first out.
Yeah, good work that time by Perez and Timmerman to cooperate on that. Timmerman with the confidence and the ability to take that. Nice 3-1, and Matsu already with one out here.
Gonna turn the contrast down a little bit just so it's not that bright on the screens for everybody at home, all 56 of you that we're happy to have here. That's high and tight from Timmerman on Dusty Eisenagel, who struck out looking against the big righty Cornhusker back in the 2nd. He has set down almost every batter he has faced in this game. 2 of the first 3 men he faced, Timmerman, were able to get on base, but since then, only 2 total have done so. That's hit high and deep to left field by Eisenagel into the gap, and McCausland right on the edge of foul territory. He's going to make the grab. Looked like it might be trouble off the bat, but just at the base of the wall, the left fielder makes the grab and a quick 2 away.
Yeah, it hung up in the air for a while, too, giving McCausland ample time to track that thing down, helping him out quite a bit. And that was an impressive job to not lose that thing in the sun, especially with what I imagine it's beaming down on right now. So good job to keep track of that baseball and get that second out and a chance to retire this side quickly.
And based on the orientation of the shadows right now, the sun is directly behind this press box, shining into the outfielder's eyes. So definitely a good point you make there. 1-0 here on Cade Smith, batting for the 3rd time. And Timmerman, as he so often does, working quickly.
It's days like these that sunglasses were made for.
Timmerman, through 2 times through the order, has allowed just 3 hits, struck out 5, and 0 walks, which might be the most interesting and impressive part of his line. As that's into right field, down for a base hit. Strohmeyer won't try to lay out for it, and instead we'll let Smith on. He's got a 2nd hit today.
Yeah, it was going to be a tough one for Strohmeyer to track down Smith with a nice looping shot into right, and just wasn't going to be enough of an opportunity there, I think, for Kellen to make a play on it. Decided to let it go. Of course, when you're up 10-0, you've got the ability to kind of lay off sometimes, and now we'll see if Jaden Hill can get things rolling a little bit more for Chugiak.
Hill with a pair of flyouts against Timmerman, and he takes the ball away. As I was mentioning, though, I don't believe the Miners have had a game this season where they have not walked a single member of the opposing team. And not only has Timmerman not issued any walks, I don't even know if he's had any 3-ball counts in this game. So he has been filling up the strike zone as he does there, 1-1.
Yeah, his command in this game has been about as good as any pitcher we've seen this season. That's one thing about Tucker Timmerman. You never really have a lot of concern whenever he's on the mound. He always seems to have a certain sense of control and recognition about how he's playing the game, and he's put that on full display today, as he so often does for Matsu. He came into this game.
1-1, high bounce off the bag and fielded perfectly by Patrizzi. Fell right into his glove, steps on 2nd for the force out, and the Miners retire another round of Chinooks through 5 innings. It is 10-0, Matsu. Top of the 6th coming up. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to the action here at the home of the Chugiak-Eagle River Chinooks, Lee Jordan Field, where the Miners currently have a 10-0 lead. And this will be Riker Scow at bat in place of Brandon Durand. He will pinch hit for him. There's also been a defensive substitution. A new second baseman for the Chinooks is Shane Steffen in relief of Louis Zulaika. 1-0 pitch swung on and missed by the man out of BYU against Brady Groves, who's on for his second inning of work after he allowed a pair to come around and score back in the fourth.
Yeah, Riker Scow getting some action here.
That bounces to the backstop, 2-1.
At 31 at-bats entering this game, 4 total hits, 4 RBIs, and he has forced 7 walks against opposing pitchers this season, so that's been one of his calling cards, and he's already got the count at 2-1, maybe on the verge of number 8.
Into right field off the end of the bat. That's dropping down, and that's going to be a fair ball. That's going to roll all the way to the wall. Scow rounding first. He'll be into second, sliding, but he didn't need to. The throw was cut off, and a leadoff double for a pinch hitter. Everything going right for Matsu.
Or he could just send it into right field and get a double. That works too. And Riker Scow, with a sensational 5th hit this season, perfectly hit along that right field line, and nothing that Kwapnoski could do to get that thing in time. Just exactly what Matsu needed, and this offense is performing as good as they have all year, like you mentioned, Charlie. This has got to feel very rejuvenating for this team.
Chase Wilcox up now. Remember, Scow had a big day the last time he was here at Lee Jordan Field. He drove in a pair of runs in that 8-1 win, which felt dominant then, but is less dominant than the performance we're seeing right now. 1-0 coming to the Central Missouri man, and he lines that down the first base line. That'll be just foul.
Boy, that was very, very close as well. I thought for a second that it might be fair, but looks like it just bounced to the outside of the first base bag. Lucky, too, because if that thing had kept going, it was headed towards the Miners' bullpen, and it would have been very hard for Chugiak to deal with that.
That's the third double already of this game. McCausland, Perez, and now Scow, all with an extra base hit. Here's the 1-1, inside.
And we've talked a lot about Matsu's inability to get extra base hits this season, and now you've already got 3 doubles in this game. So they're showing you the ability to send it far into that outfield, and that's a great turnaround and a great revelation here at the end of June. And if they're ending June this way, I can only imagine what the month of July might bring for Matsu offensively.
Of course, it is June 30th. Tomorrow marks halfway through this year, 2024. Not quite halfway through the ABL season yet, though. Still lots more baseball yet to be played. That's hit on the opposite field, cut down by the third baseman, but not well enough to throw on. That was just fair. Jaffe made a diving stop, but wasn't able to field it cleanly enough to throw across the diamond, so it'll be an infield hit for Wilcox, his first knock of the day, and remaining at second base will be Scow.
Matsu now with 10 total hits in this game as well. Between what they did against the Glacier Pilots back on Friday and now this, they have reached double-digit hits 2 games in a row, so now over 20 in just 2 games.
Logan Vaughn has a pair of walks and a ground out, and he hits that one into center field, but right into the glove of Hill, and Scow will decide not to tag, and a good decision that was. Hill with a strong arm out there, he would have been out by a mile. So it'll be first and second with 1 out here in the top of the 6th.
Yeah, Scow would have been toasted like bread in the morning if he tried to go to third base, and Jaden Hill just showing off that cannon that he has for an arm, and it makes it very hard for these base runners to try to pursue an extra base whenever he's out there in center field, and he can sling about as far as anybody.
Here's Kellen Strohmeyer. He's walked, been hit by a pitch, and now he lines it into right field for a base hit. Coming around third and staying there is going to be Riker Scow, but that will load the bases with 1 out. The procession continues. The first hit of the day for Strohmeyer. And now Vaughn and Richard, the latter of whom is now going to bat. And actually, pardon me, that'll be Blake Baltz batting in Richard's stead. So, as I was going to say, though, only 2 of the 9 original members of this batting order have not gotten a hit off of a Chugiak pitcher today. Bases loaded, 1 out.
I believe that's Nick Bisaccia at the plate for Matsu.
Okay, it was misannounced on the PA system, but yes, indeed, that is Nick Bisaccia. Apologies for that one. His dad is in attendance today, and he'll be happy to see his son get a chance to bat in a game like this with a chance to do some major damage. Takes the first pitch outside. Bisaccia out of New Jersey, Seton Hall. the everyday second baseman, middle infielder for the Miners. Got the day off today, but with a 10-0 lead, may as well give him a chance to play, and that's going to be a balk, and that's going to score a run. The second called against Brady Groves, and Riker Scow trots home to make this an 11-0 game.
If you've got the opportunity, take it, and yet another balk by Groves. I think that's his third of the game now, and Riker Scow coming home. Everything going Matsu's way at this point in time. An 11-0 lead. This is as dominant as they've looked all season. And it's on the road against Chugiak, a team that, let's not forget, beat them 1-0 on Wednesday night in their home ballpark. You wonder if that extra motivation has contributed to this deficit for the Chinooks. Matsu right now is just absolutely on point.
The umpires are talking now. The run has not gone up on the scoreboard yet. Clarifying the ruling of that call from the home plate umpire. In the meantime, I agree, a 1-0 loss answered with an 11-0 win would certainly be some karma. And they're actually going to reverse the call. The umpire pointing to his chest saying, "My bad." And Riker Scow's going to run back to third base, so 10-0 the score remains.
Yes, we're going to try it again. And hey, sometimes the home plate umpires make mistakes, but I think Tyler Brunn wants to just clarify real quick, and it's a quick clarification, so I guess no harm, no foul there.
Umpire admits the mistake.
I like that. He just lived up to it, said, hey, that's my bad, and we keep playing baseball.
Nick Bisaccia still with a golden opportunity, and he's going to tag one into center field. That's going to drop down for a base hit. So the Chinooks ruining the fact that that was not called a balk, because now the bases will still be loaded. Basically the exact same scenario they would have been in, except Bisaccia is now at first. And 11-0, the score is once again.
And Bisaccia gets an RBI on that. So 11-0, kind of the same result, just like you were talking about. But Matsu will absolutely take it. Now you've got Wilcox at third, Strohmeyer at second. Base is still loaded for the Miners, and they just keep marching ahead as we go back to Drake Kerr.
11 runs on 11 hits for the Miners. And Drake Kerr's got one of them. Also reached on an error to start the game, been hit by a pitch and hit a sac fly. Has scored 2 runs and driven in a third. And Groves just enduring all the punishment that the Miners' bats can hand out. I can't help but feel like this is a week and a half worth of offense that had just been bottled up between Kenai and the first couple games after they got back. It's finally been uncorked, and the Chinooks were just the unfortunate recipients of it. 11 runs, 2-0, and that's fouled off. 1-2 on the leadoff man, batting for the 5th time in the 6th inning.
Yeah, you talked about it being bottled up for so long. This offense has come alive here with 11 total runs. It has been a heck of a turnaround, and they are showing just how good they can be when they're on point. I've said it before, and I'll say again, when this team is on point with the pitching and the offense both at their peak powers, it is hard for anybody in this Alaska Baseball League to do anything with the Miners.
1-2. Got jammed, hit to second base, and they'll just take the force out. Another run's going to come in to score. Out number 2, Drake Kerr's got his second sacrifice hit as Chase Wilcox comes home, and it is now 12-0.
Yeah, a dozen runs now for Matsu, and pretty standard ground ball, but it gets the job done. A sacrifice RBI, and 12-0 Miners. This is the most runs they've scored all season long, and they have an opportunity at what would be one of their few shutouts of the season. I believe only their second. The other one coming, of course, against the Glacier Pilots in that 7-inning game back in the second half of that Tuesday doubleheader. So this would be their first traditional shutout.
And the score in that game was 1-0.
Right.
Just to put that in perspective. You say traditional,
but
however,
it still wouldn't be because
we are
it
now
would end in
on
7.
pace. Just a clarification, the 12-run after 5 rule is not used in the ABL, but the 10-run after 7 is, and we are definitely on pace for that unless the Chinooks can tack on 3 more runs between now and the end of the 7th inning. This game will end in 7 with a 12-0 or potentially even more, considering there are still 2 runners on scoring position, and that's grounded by Patrizzi. He'll get thrown out at first, so that will end the inning, and those runners will be stranded there. But the Miners scoring runs in pairs. It's now 12-0 after the top of the 6th. Everything going right for Matsu, and they'll keep trying to pad their strikeout and pitching statistics as the Chinooks come up to bat in the bottom half of the frame. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube, and if you're like us, you're having a great time, so stay with us. To the bottom of the sixth we go, 12-0 the score here in Matsu. I see the message in the chat and I wholeheartedly agree. The pancake breakfast seems to have been the catalyst. Pancakes, it seems, translate directly to runs. We have a sample size of exactly one breakfast and one game the day after, and I think it's pretty convincing.
Well, they may have been full after eating those pancakes, but they came in today with a hunger, an insatiable hunger to win, and they have shown that all day long with a 12-0 lead, and they have scored 5, 2, 2, and 2 runs in 4 innings of this game. And we're now in the 6th with them in just complete control. And there's a new pitcher on the mound, Aiden Delinsky, right-handed pitcher out of New York, and NYU, making another appearance for the Miners this season. I believe it'll be his 3rd. He was the number 30 RHP in New York, coming out of high school, and the number 64 overall player. And now he's back for Matsu with the Miners in complete command as he tries to finish this one out.
He came into the season as one of the most experienced pitchers at the college level, but through his 2 appearances coming into today, they have not gone as smoothly as he would have liked. Across 3 innings pitched, he's allowed 4 hits and 6 earned runs for an 18.00 ERA. Looking for a clean frame or 2 here, that would just be the cherry on top for him and his squad. Starts off Jordan Jaffe with a strike, who has reached on a fielder's choice and struck out swinging in this game. And he hits that out into foul territory. Coming on is Strohmeyer into foul ground, and he makes a sliding catch. Kellen Strohmeyer making up for the gaff earlier in the game. That catch was much more difficult, and this time he comes down with it, 1 away.
Yeah, he basically had to slide to make the catch, and that is exactly what he did. Able to locate that baseball right in front of the Miners bullpen, and you can tell by their reactions they were very impressed, as they should be, and that's exactly how things were hoping to be started for Aiden Delinsky here in the bottom of the 6th, and now we'll see what he can do with Zalaika.
Zalaika, and actually this is a pinch hitter, Shane Steffen,
yep. Shane Steffen,
who came on defensively to replace Zalaika. Delinsky is one of the leaders of this squad, and the team rides down to road games as it's 1-1 here on Steffen in 3 separate vans, and the van that Dylan and I are in also happens to be the van that Aiden rides in, and for every road game, he leads a round of a internet game as that's lined past the glove of Bisaccia and into right field for a base hit. Shane Steffen, in his first plate appearance of the game, has himself a single. As I was saying, though, the game is called Contexto. It's something you can play on your phone, and essentially the game gives you a word that's a mystery, and you have to guess words that the game then tells you how close the words are to the word that it wants you to guess, and it tells you based on the number of words away that the game calculates it is. I think it's AI generated. Ball 1 comes in to Jacob Hayes, and for every road game, the team plays a round of that, and today it took until the parking lot after everybody had gotten out of the van before finally figured out, and the word was courage. So, sign of positive things to come, perhaps. That's popped out into left center field. Kerr has got it. The yells of "don't tag" come from the fans in Chugiak, and Stefan obliges. He remains at first with 2 away.
Did you see the way that Kerr caught that baseball, though? He actually shielded his eyes with his glove, I believe, and was able to bring that in. That's a very smart play, and with the sun being what it is, we talked about how difficult that could be for the outfielders, and Kerr coming up with a resourceful strategy, so that's a great way to get an out.
Delinsky looking for a clean inning, and he's got Oliver Degenhart, who has a double in this game. Really the only hard-hit ball that has landed in fair territory for the Chinooks. He is also struck out.
Nice
Man
pitch
on
by
first and 2 down.
Yeah, nice pitch by Aiden that time, going back to that fastball. Shows a nice blend of fastball and breaking ball as of late, and watches this one get fouled off.
Lazy foul ball.
Remember, Degenhart had that stand-up double in his last at-bat for the Chinooks. So this is certainly not an easy test for Aiden, but so far so good.
0-2 coming. And that's hit into right center field, dropping fast, but Strohmeyer with another great catch. He got a great jump and got it right into his glove. Had to cover a lot of ground, but Delinsky has a clean frame, keeping the Chinooks off the scoreboard. One more of those, and the Miners go home with a win after just 7 innings. Before that, though, let's keep having some more fun. See how much higher the score can go. 12-0. It sits right now, pending the top of the 7th. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. To the 7th here between the Miners and the Chinooks. Matsu up 12-0, and just in case you missed it, the run rule in effect for the Alaska Baseball League: if a team goes into the 8th inning with a lead of 10 or more runs, the game will end right then and there. The Chinooks will have the bottom of the 7th as a last stand to prevent that from happening, but the Miners, by that same token, have one final frame to pour on any more runs that they want. Kyle McCausland is ready to bat. He will bat along with Perez and Riker Scow. Only 1 inning, the second, has been scoreless for the Miners. Actually, that was the 3rd inning that they did not score any runs in.
Yeah, Kyle McCausland coming off an incredible week for Matsu. Definitely his best as a Miner. He's been really the most explosive player for the Miners.
That's a bounding ball fielded by the pitcher Hayes, and there won't be any play there. That was a nice swinging bunt by McCausland. He's got his 3rd hit today, 2nd single. And once again, the Miners get the leadoff man on.
Yeah, 3 for 5 day. And by the way, he's gone back-to-back games with 3 hits now for Matsu. So 6 total hits in the last 2 games alone for Kyle McCausland. You could argue that he's been the best offensive player as of late, and he is displaying that once again.
Came into the day batting .240, and keep in mind that is after the hot streak that he's already been on, so a bit of a rough start, but he has found his form, and that number is only going to go up after today's stats are finalized.
He also now has the top slugging percentage on the team, so like we talked about, he's usually the guy to go deep, and he's already got a 2 RBI double today. And for Matsu, a team that doesn't get a lot of home runs, that becomes the home run. The double becomes the play that everyone looks and wants to have. And Matsu certainly has gotten that as of late with Kyle McCausland.
Well, speaking of guys with multiple hits, Christian Perez has also had a great game with a pair of singles, a walk, and a fly out. He's got a 2-1 count. Brady Groves has allowed 5 hits 2 hit by pitches and a walk, and it'll even the count there. Combined with John Green, who started the game, and Gavin Alvetti, they have allowed 12 runs. Not all of them have been earned, but most of them were. I believe 2 were unearned in the early goings of this game. And ever since the rain let up, both defenses have been sharp. Here comes the 2-2. Just outside. Man from Arizona, headed to Sacramento State in the transfer portal from Grand Canyon. And Hornets fans around Sacramento are happy with what they see in this game. Not necessarily happy with that at bat as he goes down on strikes, but as with so many things in this game, it does little to take away with how great of a day he has had and how great of a day the Miners have had here in Chugiak.
First strikeout for Brady Groves on that. And like you mentioned, Christian Perez with a bit of a rare strikeout in this game, but he's reached base basically every other time outside of the last 2 in this game. So definitely not a huge cause for concern from him, and he's been part of the cog of this Matsu offense. Remember, he had that incredible performance versus the Oilers in one of his first games of the year, had 3 total hits. We've been waiting for that kind of performance to come back once again, and it absolutely has today.
Bouncing ball up the middle off the bat of Riker Scow, fielded by DeDenhart, and throws on just in time to get him. Scow nearly got 2 hits in his first 2 at-bats after that RBI double, or that leadoff double, back in the 6th, but instead a nifty defensive play sets him down 2 away. It'll be Chase Wilcox to bat. It's important to note, I think, that last game 2 nights ago, was a 6-2 final, but most of that game was very close. It was
right.
1-1 for a while, and then, or 1-0 for a while, and then the Pilots took a 2-1 lead. That was a come-from-behind win. It felt cathartic for sure that the Miners finally broke through, but it wasn't truly dominant in the way that a lot of their early games in the season were, and this definitely feels like a game that they would have played early in the season. In fact, this is significantly more dominant than any performance they had in that first week, because all those games they at least allowed runs on the other side, and they never got as high as 12 in the scoring column either. So all in all, this is the best the Matsu Miners have played all season. Into the opposite field off the bat of Wilcox, and that'll be another hit. Number 13 for Matsu. And it'll be first and third as McCausland was running.
That's his 2nd straight single as well. And you talked about the scope of the dominance. Matsu is definitely not dominated an opponent quite like this all season long. And it's funny, the original dominance of the first 5 games, it started here at Lee Jordan Field, and it seems as though it has returned thanks to Matsu coming back to Lee Jordan Field.
Well, they'll be coming back here 3 more times over the course of the season, so that's good news if these confines really are the magical elixir that this lineup needs to remember how to hit. Logan Vaughn is a pair of walks, a ground out, and a fly out. Does not have a hit today, but it would be nice to cap off this game with his 2nd knock of the ABL season. Instead, he'll foul it off. 0-2. Runners on 1st and 3rd. Can make it a lucky number 13 in the score column.
Like I've talked about before with Logan Vaughn, his productivity maybe not as much in the hits, but he provides in so many other ways.
That drops in for a strikeout, the 2nd of the inning for Brady Groves, who started to find his form a little bit more as the game went on, but didn't really matter. That is the 2nd scoreless frame for the Miners, but they can afford to waste a few considering they're up 12-0. If they can get 3 outs here in the bottom of the 7th, just as a reminder, the game will end by way of the run rule. So stay here and watch what might be the conclusion to a great day all around for the Miners here on YouTube. the other side of the 7th inning stretch, and potentially the last half inning for the Chugiak-Eagle River Chinooks. They've got batters 7, 8, and 9. Keaton Laidley, Sam Kwapniowski, and Dusty Eisenagel due up against a new man on the mound for the Miners. Charlie Fellows, Dylan Simmons, as always, here bringing you this action, and haven't called the game quite this happy and feel good for the Miners so far this season. Trying to bring it home will be Nico Tomasello.
Nico Tomasello, the freshman out of beautiful San Diego, California, plays for San Diego State. We've talked about him a lot this season, and he's made several relief appearances for Matsu. Thus far for the Miners, Nico has 4 total appearances, 6 2/3 innings pitched. He's allowed 2 earned runs and has a 2.70 ERA, so not bad at all in relief out of the bullpen. He's going to try to close things down for Matsu today over the Chinooks.
It's interesting, if you go to the ABL stats in total, it will tell you that Ryan Peterson is the 2nd best ERA man in the ABL, and all of the other members of the top 5 belong to other teams. I don't know exactly what formula the website uses to calculate whether or not you qualify for the ERA title, but there are several pitchers on the Miners that are right up there with him with ERAs at or under 2 that have just barely not thrown enough innings. Nico Tomasello is one of them. Quick 0-2, blows right by Keaton Laidley, who's got a single and a ground out in this game.
Well, I think here's evidence as to just how good the team ERA is across the board. 2.77 is the total team ERA, so that shows
that is unheard of.
Just how many good pitchers they really have.
He'll want that one back, though. Skipped in the turf shy of the field. 1 and 2. Yeah, 2.77. It's really tough to bring it much lower than that, and it'll go much lower today because Aiden Dolinsky is going to get his 18.00 ERA much lower after a clean frame. That's a swing and a miss. Strikeout number 6. A little shy of the double-digit totals that the Miners have been racking up in the games prior to this, but they've been getting outs, and that's all that matters. 1 away.
Yeah, effective as usual by Nico Tomasello. He's got a great breaking ball, and he displayed it right there on Laidley. Just caught nothing but air, and now we'll see if Kwapniowski can do anything to change that.
Low and under the zone for Sam Kwapniowski, who has struck out looking and grounded out. Tomasello trying to get 2 more outs.
And you see he's working fast here, Charlie, definitely leaving no room.
He wants to go home, and he's 2 outs away from it. 1-1. Another cut and a miss. I really wish we had a pitch tracker because he is definitely up in the 90s right now. These Chinooks bats have been calibrated to Timmerman and Dolinsky, and they are just not prepared for this. Not that those guys don't also throw fast, but they're clearly out of sorts here in the early goings of the 7th.
Look at the pace he's pitching at. He's pitching like he's got to go home and watch the next season of Yellowstone.
2-2, and that's a swing and a miss. 2nd straight K, both of them swinging. And Nico Tomasello could end this game by striking out the side, which would just be an absolutely perfect way to end an absolutely perfect day. I mean, you talk about that, like, what is, I know, you know, we're supposed to call the game the way it is, and when the Miners do things wrong, you got to point it out, but is there any little minor point, minor M-I-N-O-R point of emphasis you can think of that the Miners weren't exceptional in this game?
Yes, they committed 1 error in this game, and that's
true.
about it. That's the only thing that I can think of that Matsu has had any sort of issue with today, and I think the only thing that they may think was a mistake is that they didn't score more runs. They had a few more runners on base and a couple times where the bases were loaded and they didn't score as many as they would have liked to, so that's the only thing I can think of, and at that point, that's just basically nitpicking, so
yeah,
it's hard to pick that apart.
They had that error back in the 1st inning, and they did leave a lot of men in scoring position, but it will not matter if Nico Tomasello can get 1 more strike.
Trying to finish the job right here. Watch for that fastball.
Swing and a miss. He got him, no? Did he just get a piece of it?
No, he did strike him. It was just,
he called a ball. Okay,
right,
I thought that there was a pitch down the middle that I thought was a strike, but it was a ball. So full count here. This is the first 3-ball count that the Chinooks have seen all game, and it's slapped on the ground to 3rd. Wilcox with a diving stop. He'll throw across his body, but actually he'll just hang on to it, so no play there. An infield hit keeps the Chinooks alive. Eisenagel aboard, and it'll bring the top of the order up for the 4th time.
And maybe one last gasp by the Chinooks on that one. Nice shot by Eisenagel. towards left field, and Wilcox doing what he could, but he was just trying to do everything he could to get the ball up, and no way to get it to first in time, so he just decided to eat it and give up a single.
For any NBA fans out there, Paul George is officially leaving the Clippers.
Is that official now?
The meeting did not go well. That ball skips all the way to the backstop, and Eisenaga will trot into scoring position on a wild pitch. So Tomasello going to have to earn it here.
Man, so where does Paul George go now?
According to the Twitter notification I saw, the 76ers are the front runner, which is what the media narrative had been all throughout the season. Orlando made a signing earlier today. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope went to them, so they might not have the money for it. And as Celtics fans, we're not too jazzed about that, but
they'll still lose.
I'll be scared of Philadelphia when they beat Boston in a playoff series.
They'll lose in the second round again.
Anyway, back to the action on the field.
Sorry to all of our Sixers fans out there.
Or people that don't care about basketball and they're just
that too.
Hoping that we'll shut up. 0-1, that's on the ground. Perez has it. He'll toss it to Tomasello, and in a foot race, the pitcher wins, and that will do it. A run rule ending for a 12-0 win. And I agree, Dylan, I can't help but clap myself. That is an incredible performance from top to bottom. There was one error, a few men left on base, but 12 runs on 14 hits, and the pitchers combined for 7 strikeouts. What more can you ask for Matsu? They were looking to get back into the win column, get their second straight win, and get some more momentum. And if this is not momentum, I don't know what is.
Oh, it is certainly momentum. It is as much momentum as a snowball rolling down a mountain right now. This was a TTP, total team performance, and Matsu showed that all the way through. Whether it was the hitting, whether it was the pitching, whether it was the defense, they were on point today, ready to go, ready to make a statement. And after that 1-0 loss on Wednesday, maybe the low point in the season, Matsu has completely turned it around as of late, and today is a great example of that, a 12-0 win on the road, and they run rule the Chinooks. What a day to get redemption, and what a way to get a win.
Keep in mind, too, those counting stats, 12 runs, 14 hits, 7 Ks, were through only 7 innings due to that run rule, so who knows how much higher it could have gone, but 12-0 is enough for Matsu, and it's enough for us to sign off here from beautiful Lee Jordan Field in Chugiak, Alaska. The way the first 2 games have gone here, I am definitely looking forward to the next time Matsu comes to Chugiak, but that won't be for a little while. The next time they play, though, you won't have to wait for long at all, as that will be 6 p.m. Alaska time, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or Eastern Daylight Time, I should say, tomorrow night as they rematch the Anchorage Glacier Pilots. That will be at Herman Brothers Field right here on this same YouTube channel, so you're going to want to watch that game for sure if this was any indication as the Miners try to equal their longest win streak of the season. Until then,